You probably clicked on this thinking it's another piece of government propaganda, full of empty excuses for why your commute just got more expensive. It's incredibly easy to look at the numbers and feel like the entire economic system is rigged, like every policy is specifically designed to squeeze the working class, while the wealthy skim the profits off the top. It sounds like you are completely exhausted by a system that constantly takes from your pocket without ever giving anything back. And honestly, that anger is entirely justified. Paying over 200 shillings for a single liter of fuel is a crushing burden on daily life. But while the pain feels deeply personal and local, directing that fury at the nearest petrol station misses the actual source of the fire. The crisis we're feeling right now wasn't born in Nairobi. On February 28, 2026, a sudden military escalation erupted in the Middle East, sparking a direct conflict between major naval powers. Almost overnight, the conflict shut down the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow oceanic passage that acts as the most critical energy artery on the planet. That closure instantly trapped roughly 20.5 million barrels of oil. A massive chunk of the global daily supply simply vanished from the open market. That supply freeze sent a massive price shockwave across the ocean, crashing directly into the port of Mombasa in the form of the landed cost, the baseline price of physically buying and shipping fuel to our shores. The soaring prices on the board reflect the brutal impact of a global energy war. Kenya is absorbing a shockwave we have exactly zero control over. To understand how that global shock translates to the pump, we have to look at the EPRA pricing formula. This is the strict mathematical framework the regulatory authority uses to account for every single cent of fuel costs. Looking at this exact breakdown from the regulator, you can see how the final price is split. We have the products costs section at the top, kept completely separate from the taxes and levies section near the bottom. Focus on that top line, the landed cost. Before a single domestic tax or margin is applied, the sheer global cost of securing that fuel sits at 107 shillings per liter for super petrol and 133 shillings for diesel. And we have to pay for that fuel in US dollars. Before the current crisis, independent oil marketers were scrambling for foreign exchange to settle these massive bills, draining up to $500 million out of the Kenyan economy every single month. To stop the bleeding, the state implemented a government-to-government, or G2G, import framework. This bypassed the frantic private dollar scramble by negotiating long-term supply directly with producing nations. If that emergency bridge hadn't been built, the weight of these war-inflated global oil prices would have triggered a total collapse of the shilling and left pumps completely dry across the nation. So, with global costs exploding and supply lines choked off, why didn't our domestic economy shatter completely? The answer lies in the Petroleum Development Levy. This is a multi-billion shilling state fund deployed specifically to act as a financial umbrella, shielding consumers from the worst spikes of the international market. On this pricing document, look at the green row marked Price Stabilization. In just one pricing cycle, the government injected 6.2 billion shillings from the levy to actively absorb a massive 23 shilling spike on the price of every liter of diesel. They paired that direct subsidy with an immediate tax cut, slashing the value-added tax on fuel straight down from 16% to 8%. A pump price of 206 shillings is undoubtedly painful. Yet the math reveals this figure is actively subsidized, kept artificially low by the Republic's internal financial defenses. Right now, political figures are mobilizing genuine public anger, calling for mass street protests and nationwide shutdowns as the answer to this economic pain. But there is a fatal paradox in that strategy. Shutting down daily commerce chokes off the exact local tax revenues required to keep the fuel stabilization fund alive. Burning tires and halting traffic does absolutely nothing to lower the price of crude oil in the Middle East. All it does is destroy the local financial shock absorbers that are currently keeping the country functional. History shows us the cold reality of these movements. Everyday citizens mobilize in the streets to act as leverage for politicians, only to be quietly discarded the moment elite backroom deals are finally struck. Rather than burning our own infrastructure, we need to protect the technical and financial architecture that is actively buffering this nation from an external collapse. How are we supposed to survive a global energy war by paralyzing our own economy?